Hey there, everybody. Welcome to today's Let's Play. Today we are jumping back into Higurashi When They Cry. This should be episode 11 of the Tatarigoroshi chapter. Let's pull it up. Happy belated Labor Day, by the way. I hope everybody had a good old time. I stayed at home and did dick all, so I hope that the rest of you at least had a good week. Alright, so we're recording. Cool. Okay. So when we last left off, Keiichi had just finished killing Satoko's uncle. I think it's Teppei Hojo. Killed him, buried him. We ran into Miss Takano outside of the woods, and she drove us home. And there was like this whole. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend that you go back and check it because it was a very tense episode. But this is taking place right after that. We've buried the body, we've committed the murder, and now we're, I guess, waking up the next day. Anyway, here we go. At first, I thought it was a dream. I was staring at this strange sheet, not really understanding what it was. That was all. I didn't go after it, nor did I ridicule it. Fact was that the boring view was the ceiling of my own room, but I didn't realize that for a fairly long time. Yes, I thought I had been dreaming, but I'd actually been staring at the ceiling the whole time. Lethargy induced by the voice of the cicadas. Even after I realized I was awake, I couldn't draw forth the energy to sit up. Everything I could see, everything I could hear, everything was like a television broadcast that had already ended. It was hot. So hot I could choke on the heat. My back was moist with night sweats, and it felt gross. Unable to endure it any longer, I tossed in my futon, and finally blood started coursing through my veins, through my brain. I lazily recalled the long day I had yesterday. The reality, as I lay here listening to the voice of the cicadas, and yesterday, so different from it. In order to kill Satoko's uncle, I had rehearsed, formulated a plan, and dug a hole. It was very hot, and I was tired, wasn't I? When evening came, I went to school and called him out on the phone. I panicked for a moment when he asked where the police station was, but it worked out. And then I awaited him, and swooped down. Couldn't remember any more what sort of emotions I'd let control my body. In any case, it didn't go smoothly, but I did it. It was very hard to dig the hole for the body, and then we didn't even use the hole that we dug, right? Keiichi dug this big-ass hole, and then it got dark out so we couldn't find it, so his shovel and that hole are still out there somewhere. I feel the rain pelting down on me. I don't think I'll ever forget it. The rain, the mud, and the sprays of blood. The sensation of floundering in a swamp. When I met Takano-san on the way home, that wasn't good, no matter how I interpreted it. It was the most misfortunate and uncalculated thing that had happened that night. Everything would have been perfect, if only I hadn't encountered her. Huh. So I think when we saw Takano, she had a bike in her back seat from the photographer, whose name escapes me at this moment. I can't remember his name. Anyway, so the photographer that we met in previous chapters, his bike was in the back of her car in the middle of the night, and she was like, I didn't see you, you didn't see me, let's just like go our separate ways. And she had this menacing look in her eye. I was just riding my bike with my shovel in one hand through the downpour, utterly soaked. There was no way someone could surmise I was a murderer burying a body just from that information. Now that I was thinking calmly, napping under the morning sun, that's what I thought. Still, the more I think about Takano-san's eyes, it seemed like she understood. Takano-san, she knew that I'd killed someone, buried them, and then I'd been on my way home, exhausted. Takano-san wouldn't gain anything from selling me out to the police. That didn't mean I could feel at ease. Yeah, Keiichi was like really quick to jump on the murder bandwagon as soon as he met her. She went to stop and pick him up like in the middle of the road, and he was like, how should I kill this bitch? What should I do? How should I kill her? So he's gone from like being an avenging murderer for Satoko's uncle to just being like, oh, I'll just kill whoever gets in my way. I had crossed such a bridge to get my tranquil life back, and I finally achieved it as a result. But now, for the rest of my life, for all the tranquil days starting today, I'd have to live in fear of what they could suddenly end. I may have twisted my ankle, dulled from total exhaustion. The fact that I couldn't make the snap judgment I needed to, I regretted it more and more as time went on. You didn't have a choice, Keiichi Maibara. You didn't have any choice at the time. You were tired. You were a mess. If you had made the decision, you might not have been able to kill her. She might have just beaten you instead. In that sense, parting ways uneventfully could have been the safer option. No matter how sharp Takano-san's intuition was, she had no proof. Her suspecting me didn't amount to evidence by itself.
理屈じゃ分かってるさ。でも、だからって何の心配もないってわけじゃないだろう。
I don't think she's gonna get in our way because we saw her that night too, and she was very adamant about us not letting anyone know that we had encountered each other. She was like, I didn't see you, you didn't see me. Tomatake, the photographer's name is Tomatake. She had Tomatake's bike in the back of her car. She was like, you didn't see nothing, I didn't see nothing. Let's just like, strangers on a train this bitch, is basically what she said. Just worry about it when the time comes. Now isn't the time to be worrying. It's time to be smiling, right? You accomplished so much just to gain a new life starting today, didn't you? Then you should be happy at this new morning. If remembering the past is too hard for you, then just consider everything up to yesterday as never having happened. You said so yourself. You buried it all like it never happened. Well, your wish came true. Everything before yesterday never happened. So be happy, Keiichi, my bra.
Why?
Yay! I stuck with my hands lazily. I could hear that. I could feel that in my soul. Yay! Felt a little silly for me to be the one doing it. I heaved a sigh from deep in my belly. The sigh got my lungs moving. Felt like I hadn't been breathing until just now. It wasn't enough to admonish myself over. All the dice that could be thrown already had been, and the numbers that turned up weren't bad at all. If I lost with those numbers, then I just had to give up, I guess. I grabbed the chest in my pajamas and flapped it back and forth. Cool air flowed over my sweating body. Okay. Nothing before yesterday happened. Nothing. Nothing at all. I'd forget it all. Yesterday was all a dream. What time was it? About midday? Getting myself up and going to school this late seemed kind of absurd. But I needed to go. Felt like going to school would be the first step into my peaceful new life. I didn't care how late it was. I would go. Go to school right now and get back to the life I'd retaken as soon as I could. My lazy body immediately became lighter at the thought. Rolled up out of the futon, bounced onto my knees, and leaped upright.
10.0
Stuck out my chest with pride at my gymnast-like pose, and took a deep breath of fresh air. The brisk morning air had been gone for a while, replaced by the crisp air of summer. Downstairs, I got a stern talking to by my mother. Where were you last night? When did you get back? You need to tell me when you won't be home for dinner. Things like that. But considering the importance of what I'd accomplished yesterday, a little scolding was no problem. In fact, it even felt like the sort of thing that would happen in such a peaceful life. I listened with an irresponsible smile and stepped out into the sun high overhead. It was around the time lunch break would be ending. Everyone would probably be worrying about me. I didn't go to the festival and now I wasn't at school. Well, maybe they weren't too worried about it, since they would have gotten a small piece of news, but a happy one from Sadako today. Yes, a small piece of news that her uncle hadn't come home last night. So you don't think that anyone's gonna, like, connect the dots, Keiichi? That's, like, very brazen of you. Since everybody knows that you hated her uncle fervently, and then you didn't go to the festival, and then he also didn't show up at the same day. Anyway, Sadako would probably live her days in nervous tension for a while, thinking he might still come home. But eventually, those days would end. And finally, Sadako too would realize her uncle was never coming back. And then Rika-chan would quietly invite her. She would say, "You can live with me again." And everything would be back to normal. Our lives would go back to how they were before that man appeared. Satoko would start wearing that extraordinary smile, complete with those protruding canines, and fool everyone with those traps she was so proud of. I'd probably be her first target out of everyone, but I wouldn't be mad. In fact, I might actually shed tears of joy at the return of something so normal. Satoko. She'd gradually grow back into that meddlesome personality of hers. I mean, my lack of useful skills was already completely exposed. Wondered if I'd ever be a match for Satoko. But that would be such a pleasant thing to see, too. With such warm, fuzzy predictions, I didn't feel bad for going to school so late. This is like a drastic departure from the last chapter. The last chapter was very disturbing. It went into very graphic detail about beating this man to death with a baseball bat. This is like very, very pleasant. In fact, I wanted to run there right now and get there as soon as I could. Instead, I decided to savor the peacefulness of just going to school like normal, without running. what I'd obtained for myself. That gave me joy just by walking like this. Yes. World beginning on this very day was something I had won. Without that monumental feat yesterday, I would never have been able to come to school so cheerfully today. The school gate came into sight. Just then I heard the principal ringing the bell to mark the end of lunch break. It was a clear, refreshing sound. I stopped, despite myself, and let myself take it in. Tap. It stopped suddenly. So there was an extra footstep. That's right. He started hearing footsteps behind him in the last chapter, and in our Watanagashi chapter, I'm pretty sure it was Shion. Shion was hearing footsteps behind her, because I remember that we were in the festival shed, and she was like, who's there? Who's making those sounds? And she was talking about the footsteps following her. So something is going on. With the noise, the blessedness I was feeling throughout my whole body withdrew into any pore it could find. And as if to replace it, it felt like hundreds of hairy caterpillars were climbing up my feet. I turned back, but of course nobody was there. A single footstep could have easily been my imagination. But the footstep felt so ominous. It does feel ominous. The extra footstep I had heard after seeing Takano-san off last night. With everything that happened on that insane night, I didn't mind something like that happening once. It had been a hell of a night after all. In fact, having just one hallucination was pretty fortunate. But those footsteps should have ended with yesterday, so if I heard them again today, there was really only one thing it could have meant. Last night still wasn't over. It was still going. Still. That insane night forever. The step I heard. Just that one extra footstep was quietly ridiculing the nonsensical notion that the world starting today was completely different from the one that ended yesterday. I think Keiichi also heard footsteps in the Onikakushi chapter, our first one. I believe he was like walking home and he got into the doorway and he heard footsteps behind him. I think. I have to go back and I have to review all my footage now because I'm pretty sure we've heard this footstep thing more than once. I think that's a recurring thing. After Watanagashi, we're hearing footsteps behind some of our characters. My classmates playing in the schoolyard all vanished inside like the tide going out. When I approached the school, it felt like that warm, fuzzy scene had ended, and it didn't feel good. The entrance, I took a quick look at everyone's shoeboxes. Satoko Hojo, she was here. Myon was here too. And Rena, of course. Even Rika-chan was here. Tomita-kun and Okamura-kun were here. In fact, I didn't see any missing classmates. If there were shoes missing, they would have to be my own. I took my shoes off and stuck them in, then took out some slippers. There wasn't a single pair left in the shoeboxes anymore. With that, they returned to their rightful state. But as I stepped up onto the wooden floor, I noticed there was just one pair of slippers left. Huh. Whose?
Hojo Satoshi.
Satoshi, who had never been to school since disappearing last year. Until now, we had committed the exact same act of violence, but I guess in the very end it went differently. You couldn't make it to school, but here I am. I didn't repeat the same mistake you made. I wasn't about to let myself feel superior about that. In fact, I felt an odd sense of familiarity with him. A misfortunate bond with someone I never met, due to following the same fate. Headed down the hallway towards the usual classroom. Felt like it had been a whole year since coming here. Hey, did you forget Keiichi Maibara? Satoshi Hojo didn't really disappear on the night of Watanagashi, did he? He actually did. He stuck around for a few days, and then he disappeared, right? Satoshi Hojo disappeared a few days later, that's right. Satoko's birthday, if I was right. I didn't know what day it was, but I couldn't say for sure I'd avoided Satoshi's failure, unless I remained here past that day. I was still living in that night of insanity. Teacher still hadn't come to the classroom. The other door clattered open, the one the teacher wouldn't use, so everyone turned at once to see who had arrived. Everyone looked pretty vacant. Suppose I'll greet them.
Ohayo, Shokun. 出迎えご苦労であるぞよ。
Silence. When I started to think I'd fallen flat, someone finally started laughing for me.
おはようケイちゃん。今朝も飛ばしてるね。
飛ばしてるね。ケイチくん、まだお祭り気分が抜けてないのかもしれない。
I wonder if they're gonna ask us what we were doing. Did we have an alibi prepared? I think all we told Mion was that we had something else to do. Hearing Mion and Reina's cheerful voices made me realize how dumb those dark feelings I'd been having at that entrance really were.
おいおい、お祭り気分って、そもそも俺。
The festival at all, remember? Before I could say that, Rika-chan smiled at me.
ケイチはちゃんと僕の演舞見ててくれましたですか？ちゃんと見てたよ。あんなにいっぱい拍手してくれてたのに、リカちゃん気づかなかったのかな？
Are my friends acting as the alibi?
ケイちゃんにシオンのやつがちょっかい出してきたのを無視してね。シオン、ざまあなかった。ああ、いい気分。
Oh. Okay. Mion starts laughing at the memory as she slaps me a few times on the back.
それで、あの射的屋の対決って結局どうなったんですか？
Tomita-kun was facing me and talking. There was nobody behind me. That meant he was talking to me.
あれは結局、富田家がビリだったのですよ。みんなで楽しく罰ゲームをしましたです。
リカちゃんも実質ビリみたいなもんだったじゃない。あそこで起死回生の大技でガムをゲットとは、さすがは我が部の部員。見事だったよ。
Crying at a time like that is a feat only Furude would be allowed to do, said Okamura-kun, breathing heavily from his nose. In my direction. Everyone laughed. If anyone but Rika-chan had done it, it would have been against the rules. Rika-chan gave one of her nipa smiles as she listened to it. In my direction. What the fuck is going on? Rena too turned to me. No, turned towards me. And then with a somewhat embarrassed smile, she whispered to me so only I could hear.
でも、本当に、ケイチくん。
もう、何がだよ。
あのでっかいぬいぐるみ、すっごく嬉しかった。大事に枕元に置いてるんだよ。ちゃんと寝る前にお休みのキスしちゃった。
Class laughed at that, cheering and jeering. This whole time, the conversation had been a little bit off. I wasn't quite getting it.
ぬいぐるみが、どうしたって？
どうしたって、昨日のお祭りでみんなで頑張って落としたよ。でっかいぬいぐるみ。でっかいぬいぐるみ。
So wait. Okay, so the previous year, Satoshi, we're assuming, killed his aunt in order to protect Satoko, and then disappeared a few days later. Mion caught us on the phone and was like, hey, why aren't you going to the festival? That's exactly what Satoshi did before he disappeared. And she was like, I also think that he killed his aunt before he left, but we never had a chance to talk about it because he was gone. Do my friends know that the reason that Satoko's uncle isn't home is because I killed him? Did the entire class come together with an alibi to protect me? Rena seemed taken aback when she answered she did with a smile. Because otherwise I have no idea what's going on. Like, maybe they know that I have something to do with his disappearance, and they're like all covering for me because they know that I did it to protect Satoko? Maybe? I'm just as confused as Keiichi right now. I'm like, we were committing a murder last night, Reina. We weren't getting you a giant stuffed bear. I don't know what you're talking about. Wait, who is this?
あの後の飲み会でさ、町内会の会長連中にもケイちゃんの評判すごく良かったんだよ。ケイちゃんの売り工場に惚れたって騒いでたのは子供会の君吉徳蔵会長だったかな。
Kimiyoshi? Like the mayor? How How deep does this
次の
go?
祭りではぜひケイちゃんに何店舗か任せたいって言ってた。
I thought it was just my class.
徳蔵はお祭りの実行委員会の模擬店部長さんなのです。
My Bara-san is great at making things sound good, isn't he? Yep, whenever he talks about something, it seems a lot better than it actually is. You can't say that. What is going on?
ケイチ君
There's
っ
like
て
this great big
売り子さんの才
conspiracy.
能があるんだね。きっとバナナの叩き売りとかやったら上手だと思うよ。
さっきから何の話だよ。だいたい俺
Didn't go to the festival in the first place. Swallowed those words. I didn't know exactly why, but in Hinamizawa, this is what had happened. Yesterday, during the Watanagashi festival, Keiichi Maibara had appeared, and he had romped about with all the usual members of his club. He made a big scene at a few of the stalls, snatched a few sticks of takoyaki and okonomiyaki in his glee, rating each of them as delicious or terrible to get everyone excited. And they'd seen a gigantic stuffed animal at the target practice game, and everyone went after it. Then I got a whole bunch of the quirk guns, firing them in rapid succession, throwing each one away after using it. And admirably, I shot down the biggest stuffed animal there. Didn't we do that in our Onikakushi chapter? The first night that we went to the Watanagashi festival, we all had a contest to see who could get the biggest prize, I think. So this is like recapping those events that didn't actually happen in this series. I'm just like, over my head. Then I gave the stuffed animal the proof of my victory to Rena as a gift. Then our fun came to a close as we had to go see Rika-chan's offertory dance. There was a ton of people squeezed in there and we all got separated, but we each managed to get into good positions to cheer Rika-chan on from. Then, in the middle, when Shion came up and asked me to go hang out with her instead of watching the dedication dance, I refused and stayed put, watching the dance until the very end. Okay. But who? Who was that? Everyone's been saying it, haven't they? Keiichi Maibara. I had an urge to yell in anger at my classmates for having so much fun talking about the festival yesterday with Keiichi Maibara. Okay, sidebar. Because I'm putting things together in my head. So, in our Watanagashi chapter, the last series of episodes, we got into a fight with those 3 bikers in Okinomiya. We got into a fight with them. Shion came up, and we were surrounded by the villagers, and they all, like, were ready to fight for us. And we talked to Shion about it afterwards, and she's like, that's what people do in Hinamizawa. They protect each other, and they, like, cover for each other. So I wonder if my friends, maybe, and the mayor have, like, come up with this great big conspiracy plot to protect one of their own for killing Satoko's uncle because I'm a member of Hinamizawa? Because it seems like everybody's in on this. What the hell are you guys even talking about? Far stronger than that feeling, though, was the sheer uncanny nature of this reality I couldn't understand. Keiichi Maibara, who wasn't me, was in Hinamizawa yesterday. As I threw away my humanity, turned into a demon, was busy beating Satoko's uncle to death. Was having a great time at the festival last night. What the hell? I had to suffer through so much, desperately holding back tears, getting so worn out in that downpour, digging holes, chasing, beating, killing, dragging and burying. Who is this Keiichi Maibara who had ignored me so and spent such a carefree, fun time at the festival, damn it? Who the hell stood in for me as I put my life on the line working so hard to achieve the treasure-like everyday life? If there was another Keiichi Maibara besides me, then what was I? On the night of Watanagashi, where one died and one disappeared in accordance with Oshiro-sama's curse, there was only a demon who had killed someone. Dumbfounded as I succumbed to a horrifying possibility, I looked around at my classmates to make sure there was nobody extra I didn't recognize among them. To make sure I wasn't among them. It was a horrifying thought. That the real Keiichi Maibara hadn't overslept and had come to school on time. And that I, who was no longer Keiichi Maibara, had just waltzed in here. But no matter how much I checked, the only people here were ones I knew. The man I met every time I looked in the bathroom mirror was not here.
始めますよ。皆さん席に戻ってください。委員長、号令。
Teacher entered and everyone hurried back to their seats. Upon finding me, who was so stupidly late, she gave me a stern talking to, but I wasn't listening to it. Wasn't our old life supposed to start today? Something wasn't right. It was just strange. I was supposed to go back to my old fun life after yesterday. I had set foot in an incomparably mysterious world that was completely different from both my old life and my recent one. Yes, this was, without a doubt, a different world than the one I've been living in until now. There was no way such an absurd thing could be possible. But unless it was true, I couldn't explain anything that just happened. In this classroom, I was surrounded by so many faces I knew, and yet I felt isolated. The cicadas sounded no different than they had before now, but they seemed somehow false. The air was parched and dry too, making me think, was the air in Hinamizawa always this uncomfortable?
Oi, Lena.
何かな？授業中なんだよ。
昨日の祭りだけどさ、俺いつ頃みんなと合流したっけ？
To be honest, I was pretty excited afterwards, and I gobbled down some cans of beer. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing, but I don't quite remember some things. For random babbling, it wasn't a bad excuse.
ケイチ君、最初は来れないって言ってたんだよね。みーちゃんの家にそう電話したんでしょ？
Yep. That matched. Called Mion and told her to take Sadako in my place since I wouldn't be able to meet up with them due to the things I had to do.
さとこちゃんを誘ってあげようっていうのは、みんなでお祭りの準備をしてた時に決めたんだよ。少しでもおじさんの姿の見えないところに連れ出してあげようと思って。
That was the same too. Mion said that when I called her. And everyone had already decided to invite her.
それでみんなでレナとみーちゃんとリカちゃんでさとこちゃんの家に行ってさとこちゃんを連れ出して、さとこちゃんのおじさんすっごく意地悪そうな人だった。
That part didn't matter. What I was trying to ask was,
俺はいつ合流したんだ？
そんなことも忘れちゃってるの？ケイチ君、だから祭りの前の日はよく寝た方がいいよって言ったのに。
だから俺はいつ合流したんだよ。
my sudden threatening demand, Rena was at a loss for words. Oops. Shouldn't have rushed that. Told her I was sorry.
境内でだよ。ひょっこりとリカちゃんと話してたじゃない。
うん、巫女さん姿のリカちゃんと楽しそうに話してた。それでレナも加わって、はう、お持ち帰り。
Okay, that checks out. How I'm taking you home. That's classic Rena. That one checks. Checks the
話
box.
してたのか？
ケイちゃん、用事か何かがあったんじゃないって私が聞いたらさ、ケイちゃん胸を叩きながら自分で言ったじゃないのよ。用事なんかより祭りで大暴れする方が大切だぜって。
They're totally covering for us. I didn't say that. Never said anything like that. Everyone went to the shrine grounds yesterday to begin with. So, everyone in our class, because we know Mion's got some clout. She's a Sonozaki. They, run this whole town. She obviously talked to the mayor and to probably other people at the festival, including our classmates, to be like, hey, we need to cover for Keiichi because something happened to Sadako's uncle. Oh, jeez. Never had the time to stop by a place like that. Went to dig the hole as soon as I woke up. I had a pretty hard time doing it. After that, I snuck into the school and made a call. Called him out and lay in wait. Then it started raining really hard. That kind of downpour, the festival should have come to a halt. In other words, it ended then. From the time the festival started to when it ended. Would have been impossible for me to have swung by the shrine grounds. I was already there when Mion and the others dragged Sadako out and brought her to the shrine, and I was talking to Rika-chan. Then, where would Rika-chan say we met? Teacher went out to wash her hands, so I ran over to Rika-chan's desk and asked her directly.
ケイイチとですか？
あ、 リカちゃんはミオンたちが来る前から俺と話してたんだろ。いつ俺に会ったんだ。いつどこでだよ。
圭一が何を聞きたいのかわからないのです。
俺昨日寝不足で半分頭がぼーっとなっててさ、何も覚えてないんだよ。
Looks like Rika-chan bought into my babbling.
圭一と会ったのは集会所から村長さんたちと出てきた時なのです。圭一は西宮殿の扉の前にいましたのですよ。
何？西宮殿？
Never heard a building called that before. Maybe I have, but at the very least I wouldn't know where on the shrine grounds it was.
村長さんがそこは神聖な場所だからみだりに近寄ってはならにゅうと怒りましたですよ。圭一、それも忘れてしまいましたですか？
Well, we know that after our last chapter, after the Watanagashi chapter, we know not to go into that ritual storehouse. I was too scared to ask anymore. The more I asked, the more it became clear without any doubt that Keiichi Maibara was present at the Furude Shrine Grounds during the Watanagashi festival. He is still not getting it. The clearer that became, the more doubts. No fears I had. Who on earth was I yesterday? Whoever that was, he had a good time in my place, and I managed to go the entire day without letting them notice I wasn't there. Well, right. When did that person leave, everyone? This morning my mother got mad at me for having stayed out so late last night. She meant at the very least that Keiichi Maibara hadn't come home while my mother was still awake. The festival would have been closed because of the downpour. If I recall right, when I went back to the house's storage room to get another shovel, I think the clock said 7. Since it was already raining hard by then, the festival would have had to close down before 7. If I'd returned that early, I would have definitely run into my parents. Or at the very least, they wouldn't have asked me when I got back last night. So the Keiichi Maibara from yesterday, that meant he never went home. That meant the downpour happened, the festival was broken up, everyone left. But he didn't go back to the house. That means... When I arrived at the natural conclusion, a wicked chill suddenly froze my spine and climbed up to my brain. That meant Keiichi Maibara was the same as Satoshi. One day he never went home. On the night of Watanagashi, he never went home. The downpour interrupted the festival, and on the way home, he suddenly disappeared. And I, who was dealing with a corpse, went home without a problem. I was so tired I wasn't even hungry, so I went up to my room without a sound and crawled into my futon. Who was I? That much was obvious. Keiichi Maibara. Keiichi Maibara was me. There may have been another one, but that doesn't negate the fact that I was Keiichi Maibara. Then, that other Keiichi Maibara was what? The voices of the cicadas steadily filling the classroom were beginning to bother me. Suddenly, I laid eyes on Satoko. Satoko's expression was dark as always. She seemed completely exhausted at a life of agony she couldn't even imagine an ending to. Well, she probably knows that we killed her uncle. What had last night been like for Satoko? Did she have fun with everyone and feel a little happier, if even for a moment? And when she went home, the end of her dream, she'd probably gone to sleep afraid of when her uncle would return. And then this morning, her uncle hadn't come home. And then she went to school. Right now, she must have still been trapped by the rotten idea from which she couldn't be saved, that her uncle would need her when she got back. But you can rest easy, Satoko. Your uncle won't ever be coming back. Unless he's a zombie. That'd be a twist. That'd be an awesome twist. I couldn't tell her it was because I'd killed him. When Satoko realized on her own that her uncle would never return, that would be truly the end of a long, insane night. That's right. I didn't do anything wrong. I did the best possible thing I could have as Satoko's Nini. Not an atom in my body regretted it. And look, calm down and think, Keiichi Maibara. From a certain point of view, isn't it convenient that there was another Keiichi Maibara? It absolutely is. I buried the corpse perfectly. A beginning wouldn't happen. But if worst came to worst, and it got out, and the investigation got to me, I now had a strong alibi, able to profess the fact that I'd been at the Watanagashi festival, but accepting something so creepy and using it as an alibi. Still, if I proved I hadn't gone to the festival yesterday, it would do no good and a whole lot of harm. That was what left the really, actually bad aftertaste. You'll forget about it, Keiichi Maibara. Everything that happened before today. So just forget about the Keiichi Maibara who was there yesterday too. Instead, let's watch gently over Satoko for the day her smile returns. And the day that would mark the end of that insane, all too long night. Weird.
それでは今日はこれで終わりです。皆さん、寄り道をしないでちゃんとお家へ帰るんですよ。委員長、
So like either our entire class is like caught up in this conspiracy to cover for us, or like something else happened. But that's on the top of my head right now.
気をつけ。
Goodbye. Thought about many things and saw my thoughts dispersed by many other things. I didn't know whether or not that time had been spent worrying or daydreaming, but either way it came to an end along with the class. Cheerfully, our classmates got their things and ran for the hallway. Mion, Rena, and Rika-chan were packing up as well. What about Satoko? This whole day she seemed deflated. Well, her uncle may not have returned last night, but she wouldn't have known he'd never return. How much I wanted to express that fact to her. Satoko packed up her pencil box and math workbook messily and, after a dark glance at the clock, heaved a sigh, then went to leave the classroom. Then suddenly, somebody placed a hand on her shoulder and stopped her.
何ですの？私、ちゃんと水やり当番もやりましたし、プリントだってちゃんと。
Her words, possessed by a persecution complex, hurt. I spoke loudly so everyone could hear.
なあみんな、さ、今日は久しぶりにやらないか？部活。
Satoko always had to tend to her uncle, so club has been on hiatus. In our minds, our club was proof of a calm, peaceful life. By enjoying being together, I wanted to make Satoko realize her days of darkness were over.
レナは、いいよ。
そりゃまあ私は構わないけど、聡子がいいならね。
Under a condition. That was important. With everything up to her, Satoko gave a worried look.
なあ、聡子、久々にどうだよ。パーッとさ。
そのお気持ちは嬉しいでございますけど。
My uncle might already be home. Thus spoke her darkened eyes, her mouth unmoving.
聡子もさ、連日息が詰まるような生活をずっと続けててさ、そんなのは心にも体にも悪いだけだぜ。やっぱりたまにはパーッと弾けなきゃな。
放っておいてくださいまし。私だってそりゃ部活がまたやれたらと思っていますわよ。
With one word, but she looked down.
みんなで遊んだ方が楽しいのは聡子だってよく知ってるだろ。俺たちは仲間だぜ。みんなで一緒に過ごすようにできてるんだよ。聡子だって昨日みんなでお祭りで騒いで楽しかったろ。
Ooh. Uh-oh. Did we say something wrong? Rena nearly said something, but she was too late.
ケイチさん、何を言ってますの？
My arm on her shoulder seemed to weigh her down, and she threw it off.
私がお祭りで楽しく、いつ遊んだって言うんですの？楽しく遊んだのはケイチさんだけじゃありませんの。
Looked over to Mion for help. Now everyone was looking down. My instincts told me that Satoko hadn't gone to the festival. But Rena said to herself that she went with Mion to Satoko's house to invite her.
さとこちゃん、途中で帰っちゃったの。神社には行かなかった。
どうして？
Realized the absurdity of what I just said with Satoko in front of me.
おじが家で待ってるのに一人だけ遊んでると悪いって言って神社の直前で。
私たちも引き止めたんだよ。今日はおじさん公認だからちゃんと遊んでも怒られないんだよって。
some point, tears had begun welling up in Satoko's eyes. Satoko was so afraid of her uncle that she couldn't even allow herself time with her friends and went home. No. She was even afraid of letting herself have a good time with her friends.
圭一さんはいいですわね。みんなで楽しくお祭り一夜を過ごせて。聞けば大層盛り上がって大活躍だったそうじゃないですの。お羨ましいことですわ。
Well, now that makes us an asshole, doesn't it? Smiling to herself, her tears began to fall.
私には養わなければならない叔父がいますの。圭一さんみたいにご両親にのんびり養ってもらってる人とはわけが違いますですのよ。
聡子。
楽しくお祭りが過ごせてよかったですわね。私の分まで楽しく過ごせて本当におよろしかったですこと。私だって部活がしたいですわ。みんなで楽しく大騒ぎして楽しくて楽しくて。でも今の私そんなの
Unable to withstand such violent emotion, a few teardrops slid down her cheek. But even though she was having such a terrible time, not once did she ever say that it was hard for her. It was a sad, obstinate bravery. But the days when Satoko had to feel like that were over. Satoko didn't need to endure it, to bear it anymore. She couldn't forget all about it now. She could forget all about it now and smile. I was so frustrated not being able to tell her that directly. But you can stay with us, Sadako. Your uncle is dead. Your uncle's been murdered. Like, oh, can't say that. Instead, I said something that I'm not sure I should have said before I thought twice about it.
帰ってこないんだろ、あいつは。
That's not something you should say. Words were deeply meaningful to me, but I didn't know if Sadako understood them.
帰ってこないって誰がですの？
ゆうべは帰らなかったんだろ、お前のお家は。
何を言ってますの、圭一さんは。
Satoko shouted with all her might.
あいつがいついなくなったって言うんですの？いつ？
落ち着けよ。だって昨日あいつは帰ってこなかったろ。
圭一さんが何を言ってるのか全然わかりませんでしたよ。
聡子こそ何を言ってんだよ。だってあの男は。
I killed him. Killed him yesterday. Killed him for sure. And I buried him. Buried him whole. Could never have returned to his house.
昨日だって私にいっぱい意地悪して怒鳴ってわめいて当たり散らして作ったご飯を投げられた。お味噌汁もひっくり返された。暑かった汚かった。そしてお掃除も私がした。私が
What the fuck is happening? We killed him! What? Our stories weren't matching up.
あいつ。え？
Did we imagine the whole thing, or is Satoko making it up?
今朝だって朝ごはんの時起こせって言われたから起こしたのに怒られた。起こさなかったらまた怒るように起こしても怒られた。
聡子。
Rika-chan went over to Satoko and said a few words of consolation. But Satoko angrily refused those words and thrust Rika-chan away.
いいに早く帰ってきてよ。
Crying, Satoko slowly walked out into the hallway. After a moment, Rika-chan went after her. Couldn't stop thinking about the words Satoko had spoken while crying. I buried her uncle last night. But she said this morning that was impossible. I buried him last night, so she couldn't have seen her uncle this morning. What was Satoko? At that point, I heard Mion's cold voice.
ねえケイちゃん、聡子のおじさんが帰ってこない。
Yeah, that was a stupid
Nani?
fucking thing to say, Keiichi. Gulp. said too much. I let my emotions get the better of me.
レナも聞いたよ。さとこちゃんのおじさんが帰ってこないって言った。
どうして？なんで帰ってこないの？
おかしいよ
foot in
ね。
mouth.
だって今朝もちゃんとさとこちゃんのおじさんはいるんだよ。なのになんで帰ってこないなんて言うのかな。
ケイちゃん、言ってることがさっきから変。
Suddenly, Mion and Reina started to speak in strange and creepy voices. What were they doing? What were they saying?
ケイちゃんはさとこのおじさんがいると何か都合が悪いことでもあるわけ？
お前らこそ何を言ってるんだ。サトコのおじなんかいない方がいいに決まってるだろうが。
Can we not do the creepy Reina and Mion thing again? Because we had our fill of that. I'm done with creepy Reina and creepy Mion.
それはもちろんいない方がいいよね。
Like this? I hate this. We already had to deal with that. Something wasn't right. Next thing I knew, Mion and Reina were smiling thinly, and their eyes were dark and muddy in a way that I'd never seen before. And as our eyes met, that mud even seemed to fill the air.
さとこのおじは確かに嫌なやつだよね。私もいなくなった方がいいやつだと思うよ。でもさ、仕方ないじゃない。
Nothing we can do. Something's wrong. Something's clearly wrong here. What the hell was happening? For a moment, a chilly liquid-like feeling as though my blood had been mixed with sherbet crawled up my spine.
仕方ないって、そりゃ仕方ないけど、でもそれじゃサトコが。
仕方がなければどうするのか
Shut
な。
up, Keiichi. Rena was trying to prompt me to say more. There really was no choice, so I killed him. I killed him to protect Sadako.
それは
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
放っておきなよ。そのうち解決しちゃうと思うしさ。
さとこちゃんがおじさんがいるって言ってるんだからいる。ちゃんと昨日もいたし今朝もいる。そうならそうでいいんじゃないかな。
Mion and Reina were speaking unbelievably dismissively. How could they be talking like that? Mion and Reina, they were my friends, and were seriously worried about Sadako's abuse, weren't they? I'd never blurt out something like this. And I definitely killed Sadako's uncle. No matter what Sadako or anyone else says, I wouldn't acknowledge it because him being alive was impossible. There was no way he was alive. It was impossible. And yet, since Satoko herself said he was here, then he was alive. I didn't know why or how, but suddenly, Mion and Reina were at my side, standing there silently.
帰ろうよ、ケイちゃん。
帰ったらね、今日は久しぶりにレナ宝探しに行くつもりなんだ。みーちゃんも来るんだよ。
I started thinking that they were on my side at the beginning of this episode. Now I'm not so sure.
ケイちゃんも一緒に行こ
Are
う。
they trying to implicate me in the murder?
もちろん拒否権はないからね。
Not allowed to refuse. If words could freeze blood, then there was no doubt that they would have frozen me solid. I could hear it, a layer of thin ice, the sound of all my muscles tensing. And with them closely at my sides, we left the school, as if they were police officers taking me away. They talked about silly things the entire way home, like they always did, but they always stood at my sides as if to prevent me from escaping. This was strange. Everything about this day was strange. Actually, it had been strange ever since the previous night. Yeah, thinking back, it had been strange ever since killing Satoko's uncle. That creepy meeting with Takano-san was only the beginning. That insane night was still continuing. Yes, it still hadn't ended.
何？どうしたのケイちゃん。急に立ち止まったりして。
ごめん、なんでもないよ。
When I stopped, it was distant, but I definitely heard them. An extra set of footsteps. That was proof. Proof that an insane night hadn't ended. He's hearing him again. Mion left where she usually did and finally came to my house.
じゃあね、ケイチくん。お家で待っててね。レナ、すぐに迎えに行くから。
What was it? She was inviting me along one of her oversized garbage treasure hunts at the dam site, right? But why now? Mion coming along was strange too. Mion may have accepted Reina's little hobby, but she hated fishing through garbage, so she'd never come with her before. And the location specifically being the dam site was a little creepy. The dam construction site was completely outside the flow of everyday life. It was so remote that no one ever went there unless they thought to in particular. Nobody lived there and there were no lights, so at night it got very dark very quickly. I was being forcibly invited there. There was no reason I had to fear Reina and Mion. Well, we know better. Besides, wouldn't the trouble I'd made by refusing them be a pain to deal with? In that way, it didn't seem like going treasure hunting with them was a bad idea. But that insane night was continuing. Haven't the sirens of instinct been milling in my mind for a while now? Warning me that Rena and Mion were strange? That I needed to be cautious. The warning sirens were so freaking loud it felt like my head was split in two.
あ、レナ、俺、実はちょっと用事があるんだ。
No, just go with them.
用事？何の？
Yeah, just go with them.
なんのって。
Mm-mm.
用事だよ、用事。
Just say yes, Keiichi.
用事なら、なんでみーちゃんがいるうちに言ってくれなかったの？みーちゃんとはダム現場で待ち合わせって言って別れちゃった後なのに。
Rena was smiling, but her words made her discomfort clear.
ごめん。ちょっと言い出すタイミングを逃しちゃって。
本当に？
You're lying, aren't you? You just made that up now, you liar. That's what Reina's eyes said to me.
俺、頭が痛いんだ。風邪かもしれない。だから病院に行って薬をもらってきたいんだよ。
本当に？
That wasn't really a lie. My head did hurt a little bit, so I wasn't lying. Reina, she couldn't figure out if my head hurt or not just by looking at it.
なら仕方ないね。
After staring at me in the eyes for a few moments, she fired a sharp, needle-like stare at me. Tension in my body loosened, and I felt my knees might buckle.
診療所に行くなら早く行った方がいいと思うよ。あそこたまに早く閉まるから。
ありが
You
と
need
う
to。stop lying.
そうするよ。
必ず行くんだよ。病院。
行くよ。
本当に行くんだよ。
行く。
It seemed like Reina had realized that I was going to refuse her invitation for a while now. With how serious she looked, she might actually call the clinic later to make sure I went. Couldn't say anything careless. Lying about getting checked out was just an excuse to decline her request in the first place. Didn't matter whether I actually went.
あ、ちゃんと行くよ。なんなら明日、病院のレシートを持って行ってもいい。
それいいね。必ずもらっておいてね。レナ、明日見るから。
Another tingle started crawling up my back. There was no ignoring it. Rena and Mion must have been monitoring my movements. That wasn't normal. We already had the Mion Rena freakout in the first chapter, in the Nikakushi chapter. They were already acting weird after the Tanagashi festival. We already had a whole thing about it. Far from it. All of it was insane. Like, I don't like scary Rena and scary Mion. I don't do that. I did what I did because I wanted my peaceful life back. But what on earth was all this? It was far from peaceful. Something had gone mad, leaving the world out of order. With the other, Keiichi Maibara. With those creepy footsteps I'd been hearing. With Rena and Mion asking so curious. And above all, with him being alive. Where was I? Hinamizawa village, Shishibone. Or Shishibone. I think it's Shishibone. I knew that much. Was this really the Hinamizawa I knew?
おい、前原圭一。ここはどこなんだ？
I asked, whipping around before the front door to face the one who has been following in my wake all day. Nobody would have been there, of course. Keiichi Maibara, huh? That's what I just called him. Called the one who had been trailing behind me this whole time. That shadowy presence always clinging to me, like it was constantly watching for the opportunity to change places. Footsteps always following me was another impossibility. It couldn't have been a ghost, so it was just impossible. So the strangeness must have been my ears, my head, or Hinamizawa. Everything I could see was the exact same Hinamizawa I knew so well, and that gave me the creeps. Eventually I decided to actually go to the clinic. Well, you kind of have to, now you've been caught in a lie. I really didn't want to go outside, but a stronger feeling than that desire was the fear of Reina might actually be keeping an eye on me to see if I went to the hospital. But before I went to the clinic, there was something I wanted to make sure of. It was at school. Pretended I'd forgotten something. I was going back to the classroom to pick it up. I'm going to look for the bat, because the bat shouldn't be there. As soon as the thought crossed my mind, I was overwhelmed by paranoia. I'm just going to the classroom, but I hated it so much, having to be so forceful to fake it. Carefully verifying once more that nobody was watching, I went over to the locker. Yes, Satoshi's locker. Committed the crime with the bat I found in this locker, Satoshi's bat. And then I had thrown the bat into the swamp, which meant the bat shouldn't have been inside. But, what if? The bat was still in here. It was a very dreadful, incomprehensible idea, but if it was true, it would explain a lot. The bat was in here. Yesterday's events would have all been a delusion. No, an illusion. I hadn't killed anyone and I'd gone to the festival. I had a great time rampaging about with everyone. It would prove that Keiichi Maibara was really me. Proof that I was only under some strange assumption that I'd killed Satoko's uncle. Proof that it had all been a wild fantasy. That would explain everything. Nothing happened yesterday. I had just gone mad, unable to separate my shocking uncle-killing dream from reality. Well, that wouldn't make everything fine. That might actually be like a big problem. That would explain everything. If that was here, would I be able to accept that reality? If it was here, nothing will have changed. If it was here, it would just mean I'd gone crazy. Preparing myself for the worst, I opened the locker door. I was actually scared of opening it slowly, so I threw it open with a bang. And just like the first time, the choking scent of smell and sweat, like a stale towel, came flowing out. There was a baseball uniform and some miscellaneous other things like notebooks. There was also a shoe pouch. And as for the bat, it wasn't here. So we did kill him. It was how I left it when I took the bat out. So we didn't imagine it. Everybody else is lying, or something else is going on, because we weren't at that festival. There's no doubt, yesterday really happened. Now that I knew I wasn't a lunatic, I felt relieved. But at the same time, if I wasn't the crazy one, then Hinamizawa was. And that was evidence of a reality I just found as difficult to accept. There was noise, somehow, creeping into everything I saw, and the world was losing a tiny bit of color. So what did I know about last night now? Now that I made sure the bat wasn't there, I didn't need to be here anymore. Shall I go? For real, to the hospital. It was my first time going to the hospital, but from what I'd heard, it wasn't far from school. My mom had told me where it was. A big, easy-to-see road went straight there. Went past the shopping street, made a turn. Wasn't overly hard to spot the sign with the Irie Clinic on it. There was one other person, an older man there in the air-conditioned waiting room. I went up to the counter and told him it was my first time here. The man behind the counter glanced at the clock and said there would be a short wait. It was almost 5. Clinic hours would be ending soon. As I sat in this unfamiliar waiting room, isolated from everyone, and let myself feel the cool air, I actually felt relieved. What should I tell the doctor when he comes? Tell him I had a cold, but it was the very picture of health. Actually, I wanted him to check my head. I wanted someone to confirm for me whether I was really sane or not.
前原圭一さん、診察室へお入りください。
Huh? Voice from the other side of the examination curtain. I thought I'd heard it somewhere before. It's Coach Irie, right? The baseball coach? Yeah.
こんにちは。ここでお会いするのは初めてですね。
監督ってお医者さんだったんですか？
How did you not know that? Haven't we seen him in his lab coat before? I didn't mention it. He did seem to know his way around when he was looking at my shoulder in the nurse's office. It would make sense if he was actually a doctor. Come to think of it, our teacher called him Irie-sensei, didn't she?
一応お医者さんなんかやっています。お医者さんはいいですよ。若いすべすべなお肌を見放題の
Alright, that's gross.
触り放題。怪しいお注射で自由を奪って私だけの専属メイドに。
Yeah, that's gross.
ありがとうございました。今のを見てただけで風邪が治りました。失礼します。ペコリ。
I'll be leaving now. Polite bow.
わったったった前原さん、冗談です。さあ座って診察させてください。聴診器を当てますから前原さんのすべすべのお胸を見せてください。
Can you stop saying weird stuff? For some reason, I felt really relieved. After that insane night, as much as I thought everything had gone crazy, Coach was here doing the same thing he always did. I was very happy for that.
風邪ではないようですね。むしろ全身の擦り傷や切り傷の方が痛い。ひょっとして半袖半ズボンで藪の中に入って遊びましたか？切り傷から破傷風菌が入った可能性もないとは言えませんし。
I was chasing the man last night. I kept being scraped by bits of trees. I didn't realize I had so many cuts.
昨日のお祭りではしゃぎすぎましたね。若いというのはいいことです。
Once again, I apparently went to the festival.
監督も行ったんですよね、お祭り。
ええ、もちろんですよ。私こう見えても綿流しの実行委員会の役
Did
員
he
ですからね。
Did he see us too?
俺に会いましたか？
Coach was the same coach that I'd always known, and I felt like I could trust him more than my weird friends, so I asked.
実は私本部テントでずーっと会長さんたちとお酒を飲んでたんで全然お祭りは見て回ってないんですよ。
Okay, that's good.
前原さんには会ってないと思います。
そうですか。
変わった質問をしましたね。ひょっとして今日寝不足ですか？いけませんよ。成長期はよく食べよく寝て育つんですから。
Coach let out a laugh. He didn't laugh in an unnatural way like Mion and Rena did. Coach was okay. He was the coach from the world I knew. He wasn't someone from this abnormal world.
こんな話きっと変だと思うんですけど、笑わないで聞いてほしいんです。
ねえ、どうぞ。思春期のシャイな悩み、大いに歓迎ですよ。
Gross.
俺と瓜二つな人間がいるなんてありえますか？
Coach hadn't expected that question at all and couldn't say anything for a moment. But then he smiled calmly and quietly answered.
迷信ですが、世界には自分と全く同じ顔をした人があと2人いるなんて話を聞いたことがありますね。いるならぜひお会いしてみたいものですが。あとおとぎ話にも自分の分身が登場する話がいろいろありますよ。ドイツのおとぎ話に出てくるドッペルのお化けなどは有名です。
ドッペルのお化け？
I don't think that's what's happening here.
ええ、
I don't think there's a German doppelganger impersonating us in the village.
自分の姿に瓜二つなんだ
I
そう
think
で
our
す。
friends are lying.
不幸の前触れなんだそうで、これに遭ってしまうと近いうちに死んでしまうみたいな話らしいですよ。
When you meet them, you're sure to die soon. The story ended directly in death, plain and simple, and it made my spine tingle. Coach wasn't saying it to scare me, though. He was just offering a casual anecdote. And that made it feel all the more real.
そのお化けがHinamizawaに出るなんて話はありますか？
さてどうでしょう。
Coach must have thought he was being teased, so he laughed in an exaggerated way. But when I didn't smile along with him, his laughter steadily grew fainter.
すみません。ちょっと真面目な話のつもりだったんで。
いえ、こっちこそ笑ってすみませんでした。何か気になることでもおありですか？
Wondered if I should tell him. Then, after resolving myself one final time, I slowly spoke.
俺昨日はお祭りに行っていないんだ。
Shut up, Keiichi. The alibi that you had is now getting slowly untethered. It's been like a day.
そうでしたか。お祭りは来年もあります。その時また。
そうじゃなくて、俺は祭りに行っていないのに、みんなが言うには俺は祭りにいたらしい
Shut
ん
up,
ですよ。
Keiichi.
こんなことってあるんですか？
Blinking his eyes in amazement, Coach thought seriously about what I was trying to say. And he answered, choosing his words carefully.
お話を整理しますね。つまり前原君は綿流しのお祭りに行ったけど、その記憶がないということですか？
Trying to say something completely different, but I suppose any sane person would come to that conclusion. That night, Keiichi Maibara was actually at the festival, but I was saying I didn't go. That obviously meant my memories of going there had failed me. But that was absolutely impossible. That vivid act I had committed during the downpour couldn't possibly have been an illusion. All these scrapes on my body prove it, as do the fact the bat wasn't in the locker.
いえ、違うんです、監督。俺は本当に祭りに行っていないんです。
気を悪くしないでくださいよ、前原さん。前原さんにはこれまでに気づいたら見知らぬ場所にいたとか、そういう記憶の欠落を経験されたことがありますか？
ないです。それに記憶を失ったとかそういうのじゃない。だってその祭りの時間には
I was
別の用事を
I was
確かにや
definitely
っていま
doing
したから。
something else. I can tell you I wasn't doing a murder. I wasn't murdering anyone, but I was definitely doing something else. Please don't ask any more questions.
寝てて意識がなかったとか
Just
そういうのじゃありま
Cut
せ
it
ん。
off right there, Doc.
その用事は間違いなく、大変失礼ですが、何かの思い込みでなく。
間違いありません。完全にはっきりとした記憶、いや事実です。
Shut up.
お祭りの時間に神社にいなくて、よそで別の用事をしていた。それをはっきりした形で証明できますか？
That's right. Thinking it through brought me to this. There's only one way to prove that I really wasn't at the festival yesterday, and that was to show there was no doubt I had killed her uncle. Coach saw me struggling to answer, and his eyes looked a little cold. I guess they would. After all, from Coach's perspective, I was just a weirdo sputtering nonsense.
少し横になりましょうか。心を落ち着けて楽にしましょう。
別に横になりに来たわけじゃありません。遠慮します。
少し神経に高ぶりがあるようです。鎮静剤を注射して少し目をつむってみませんか？それで。
俺は異常者じゃない。
Well, his coach was treating me like a deviant, so I raised my voice.
気に障ったなら謝ります。ですからどうか落ち着いて。
Well, if people didn't think we were crazy before,
俺は絶対に祭りには行っ
they
てい
gonna
な
think
い。
it now.
それは本当に間違いないんです。
分かってます。分かってますから、どうか落ち着いて深呼吸を。
あんたは全然分かっていない。
Coach was stunned and stared in stupefaction.
分かっていますよ、前原さん。あなたは昨日はお祭りに来なかった。そうですよね。私は信じます。信じますよ。
Coach jotted down a brief note in his records. He was writing it in German, that his patient wouldn't know what it said. But I can make a good guess as to what he wrote.
あの時間に何をしていたか全部話さないと信じません
Shut
か？
up. Shut up. Shut up.
いいえ、
Shut.
信じますから。どうか座ってください。
Before I sat, I tilted my head back a little. Blood in my face all drained out, and I quieted down. After taking a deep breath, I made sure that I was calm now.
俺が祭りの会場にいることはありえない。なぜならその時間に俺は。
Should I tell him or not? I really didn't want to go on living like this, feeling this horrible. And I said them, the final fatal words.
聡子の王子を殺していたからです。
What the fuck? I could smell the concrete in the room. I could feel the air around us sharpen. Nobody moved. Only the sound of the clock ticking out told us the time hadn't stopped. With his mouth wide open, Coach even forgot to blink for a little while.
あなたがさとこちゃんのおじさんを
Remember, like, how, like, an hour ago, we were like, we can't wait to get back to our perfect life with Sadako, and we can't wait to get back to, like, the way things were. And now, within, like, a matter of 1 hour, our perspective is completely shifted, and we're just like, we might as well commit our crime. Might as well confess the crime that we've committed of murder to literally, like the first adult that we see, aside from our teacher. We're just like, oh, I committed a murder and killed someone. Yeah, it's fine now, Keiichi Maibara. Don't hesitate. Admit it, with all your strength.
はい、俺が昨日の夜殺しました。
Spoke clearly and fluidly. I could easily tell that Coach's mind had gone completely blank.
どうしてそんなことをいえそれは愚問ですね。
サトコを救う最も直接的な方法だと考えるに至り、後悔はわずかもありません。
そうですか。
Coach smiled thinly and nodded a bit.
だから俺は祭りの会場にいるわけがないんです。
Do we think that maybe our friends, like, were trying to entrap us? Like they were trying to make us think that we were crazy or paranoid? So that we would confess this to someone? Left the brightness of my house for the darkness of the outside. After that I dug holes, made phone calls. I had my hands full. And then I attacked him. Killed him. Buried him. It was pouring hard at the time. Festival started that evening, but was suspended due to the rain. There were no gaps in my memories. From the late afternoon until it started to rain, there was no time for me to possibly have gone to the festival.
その体中の傷はその時に。
そうです。サトコの家を少し行ったところに林道、あそこで襲い逃げるあいつを追い、町に至る一本道で殺すに至りました。
それは本当に
Killing her uncle, it wasn't some wild fantasy? I could tell that Coach didn't believe me. So I spoke slowly, not letting myself grow excited.
本当です。サトシのバットでそのバットはあいつが乗ってきたバイクと一緒に沼に捨てました。死体は殺した場所に穴を掘り埋めました。すべて自分が一人でやりました。
さとこちゃんのおじはバイクで通りかかったんですね。ではあなたはそれを期待して延々と待ち伏せ。
Oh yeah, it was premeditated as fuck. Like we were ready. We were ready to murder him. We had all
あい
planned
つが
out.
家から出ないことは想定していました。だから電話で適当な嘘を喋ってあいつが出かけるように仕向けました。
電話で呼び出した。でもあなたの家とさとこちゃんの家は離れています。電話をしてからではとても待ち伏せに間に合わないので
She can confess everything.
襲撃予定場所から最も近い電話として学校の電話を使いました。
でも前原さん、当日は日曜日です。学校には施錠がされていて入れないのでは。
偶然その時営林署
Oh
の
my
人が
god.
中に出入りしたんです。その隙に入りました。
After that, Coach grilled me on a few different things regarding the incident. Made sure to question me carefully, looking for any contradictions in my account.
信じましょう。あなたが昨日したことは夢とは思えない。
I explained everything, including minor details that only someone who had actually committed the act could explain. Could, of course. It was only yesterday. Coach realized that my story had no expedient coincidences or too convenient details that would have existed in a daydream or delusion, and finally seemed to want to believe me.
これでもまだ俺が記憶をなくして祭り会場に行ったと思いますか？
Coach slowly shook his head.
でもクラスのみんなが昨日確かに俺が祭りにいたと言います。そんなことがありえるでしょうか？
あるわけがない。きっとクラスの皆さんはあなたによく似た誰
That's
か
not
と、
it.
それに集団心理が働いて皆さんは あなたがお祭りにいたと錯覚してしまっているに違いありません。
Couldn't have mistaken me. Me and all the rest said that they were spending time with Keiichi Maebara. It was much more than just having mistaken someone else for me. But saying that out loud would just confuse Coach. He spoke to me in whispered tones.
罪の意識はあるんですか？
Nope. Didn't sound like he was criticizing me. And even if he had, I would have flatly said the same thing.
ありません。あいつのいなかった平穏な時間を取り戻すために行いました。だから俺はあいつを殺したことなんかさっさと忘れて、これまで通りに生活するつもりです。あいつが現れる前、聡子がいつも見せてくれたあの笑顔が戻った時、ようやく全ては終わります。
犯行を誰かに目撃されたということは？
ないと思います。目撃されてればもうとっくに逮捕されてるでしょうから。
私は医者です。人の命を救う職にあります。だから私から人間の命を奪うことを肯定する旨の発言はできません。だから私はあなたにこう言います。
Coach slowly rose and placed a hand on my shoulder.
聡子ちゃんを救ってくれて。
Well, that's not a very helpful statement to be giving a young boy. Coach's eyes started shedding warm tears. When I looked at him, I started to feel some tears of my own. I mean, I know that Coach Irie also loves Satoko and has said some really weird stuff about, like, marrying her when she's all grown up. But that's not something that you say to a teenage boy who's just confessed to murder. Like, good job, kid. I didn't know what I was crying for. And so for a little while, the two men in the room fought back their tears.
でもおかしいんです。
おかしいとは？
確かに殺したはずなのに、あの男は生きて家に帰ったらしいんです。
Coach's expression immediately sharpened.
状況にもよりますが、気絶や仮死状態など素人が見ると死んだようにしか見えない状態もいくつかあります。
His head looked like a watermelon, right? We said we couldn't even recognize the face anymore. It was just like splattered.
その可能性は？
No.
脈を取ったわけではありませんが、確実に仕留めたと思います。
前原さんが襲った時の状況を再現してもらってもいいですか？
Coach rolled up a Health and Fitness Week poster nearby and offered it to me to represent the bat. I may have been lost to the emotions of a beast that night. I remembered in detail the number of times I swung the bat, the angles I had swung from, and the force I'd applied. Using Coach as a stand-in for the uncle, I reproduced them over, one by one.
そしてあいつが足を取られてよろめいた時、脳天にこう叩きつけました。その時これまでとは違った手応えがありました。頭蓋骨が割れたんだと思いました。
Coach was calmly analyzing this information, using the places I had struck in the situation at hand to find out what state the uncle's bodies had been in.
そして死んだかどうか自信が持てなかったので、倒れた後も何度か殴りつけました。
その時の反応は？
初めは殴るたびに体が跳ねるような感じがありましたが、やがてそれもなくなり、何の反応もなくな
Yeah,
り
he
ま
was
した。
very dead. Coach folded his arms and said a few times. Then he spoke.
死んでいます。ほぼ間違いな
Wouldn't
く。
the easiest way to resolve this would just be to go to Sadako's house? Like, just knock on the door and be like, hey, is your uncle home?
それは仮死状態ではなく、
前原さんの話からだけではなかなか判断がつきませんが、ほぼ確実だと思います。それに前原さんは死体を泥の中に埋め、結構な時間をかけて埋めていますよね。仮に30分で埋めたとして、その男は30分間も泥水に沈められていたことになります。それだけの時間、呼吸が止められたら確実に脳死しま
Yeah,
す。
he's very dead.
殴った強さ以前に埋める過程で確実に絶命したと。
そういうことです。30分間泥に埋められていて生きていられる人などありえません。
Right, that tracks. That makes
あ
sense.
りえない ですよね。でも聡子は生きてると。
We should go to Sadako's house. Coach, a doctor, just gave a stamp of approval that he was dead for sure. It made it seem all the more unfair that he could still be among the living.
前原さん、これはとても恐ろしい想像なのですが、前原さんが殺した相手が叔父でなく別人である可能性は。
We were very sure it was, weren't we? He's right. That could be why. It cleared up the inconsistency of my definitely having killed someone, but him still being alive.
そんなはずはない。
I mean, we remember in the forest, it wasn't dark yet. We heard the motorbike, we saw the familiar motorbike, and he checked to make sure that it was him.
だってほら、監督と一緒に聡子の家の前で酒瓶の袋を運んだ時、窓から顔を出した男がいたじゃないですか。あいつですよね、聡子の叔父は。
ええ、間違いありませんよ。あの男です。
実はもう一人叔父がいる。
Could she have had two gay abusive uncles?
聞いたことがありません。あの男だけです。
あいつの特徴を教えてもらえますか。
まず身長がですね、175、もう少しあるかもしれません。
In order to eliminate the worst possibility that I killed someone else, Coach began to thoroughly compare what the man in his mind looked like with what I told him the person I killed looked like. No matter how in-depth my description went, none of the characteristics differed. The uncle's traits, according to Coach, were all exactly the same as the person I'd killed. Those traits were all extremely vague, and they weren't particularly distinct at a glance. Go to Satoko's house. Knock on the door. Check in a window.
絶対にあいつだと識別できる特徴はありませんか。
そういえば、私は見たことはありませんが、聡子ちゃんが昔、背中に虎だかなんだかの入れ墨がある。
Don't go dig up the body. He's not gonna dig up the body, is he?
気がします。
入れ墨。
It was really important. Not everyone had a tattoo. Found a tire tattoo on the back of the man's corpse would be proof I'd killed. Do not, Keiichi Maibara, you listen to me right now, you son of a bitch. Do not go back to the woods and dig up that body. Leave it alone. Go to her house and knock on the door. No! At the moment, though, there was one other thing that would verify this. Yes! Okay, yes, this one. To go to Sadako's house and see for myself the uncle that had returned home despite having died. But that was far more terrifying than digging up the body and looking at its back. Why? Why? You've been to the house before. Not even looking at the tattoo, I knew for sure the one I'd killed him and Sadako's uncle. I cracked his head open and killed him. And yet he'd gone back home. There wasn't any misunderstanding, or even the shadow of a doubt in my mind about having killed him. And yet, it was impossible for him to exist. Kind of like how Keiichi Maibara had been at the festival despite it being impossible. That small commonality made me feel as though a faint but bizarre force was permeating this insane Hinamizawa.
一体どういうことなのでしょう。前原さんはお祭りには行かず、聡子ちゃんのおじさんを殺していたにもかかわらず、お祭りにはあなたがいて、そして殺したはずのおじさんも生きている。
何がなんだかさっぱりわからないです。
Doesn't make any sense.
そうやって整理して言うと、まるで俺が悪い夢を見ていて、でも事実なんです。この手でバットでガツンガツンと殴ったあの感触は絶対に夢や幻なんかじゃないんです。
Coach let out a slow sigh, then, after looking at the clock, got up.
ちょっとこの話、もう少し真剣にやりましょう。ちょっと失礼して、紅茶でも入れてきてあげます。診療所も終わりの時間ですからね。ジムの方とかも返してあげないと。
Where are you going, Coach? No. No, follow that man. Where is he going? Leaving me alone. The clock was about to strike 6. I was at the festival and the uncle I'd killed was alive. Had I really committed murder yesterday? Follow him. Don't just let him leave. What if he's going to a phone? The only whisper of a fact that proved it had happened was the absence of the bat from Satoshi's locker. In any case, I was glad that Coach had taken my nonsense seriously. I just confessed to murder, And you just let the doctor walk out of the room who heard you with the full confession. Keiichi, you're a terrible, terrible murderer. Normally that would frighten a person away. Coach didn't run, he cried with me. I was glad he did. Like so, my tension smoothly melted away and I suddenly realized I really had to urinate. I thought to use the restroom while Coach stepped out. There was one across in the waiting room. As soon as I left the room, I saw Coach and two male doctors wearing white clothing, standing in the shadows of the hallway nearby. I didn't particularly intend to eavesdrop or anything, but I was quite surprised upon noticing how uneasy they seemed. I hid behind the wall and quietly listened in. It seemed like Coach was giving directions to the two doctors.
紅茶ですね。用意します。
睡眠導入剤を入れて、種類は任せます。味はミルクと砂糖でごまかしてください。
急激な眠気に不信感を抱く可能性もあります。興奮状態に陥って暴れ出す可能性も。
その場合は取り押さえましょう。男性スタッフはまだ何人か残ってますか？
山犬が1人、それに私たちを含めて3人ですよ。
What was all this? You're, like, just awful at this. It's been one day, and your whole plan is falling apart. I think I was already agitated, despite what Coach said. Was that it? Was it just a casual conversation? It was only sounding unbelievable to me? Coach said he would bring back some black tea and left the room. Then in the shadows, he was telling his subordinates to put some kind of sleeping powder in the tea? Plus, they were getting extra help. In case I thought the sudden sleepiness was suspicious and started getting violent? Hey, wait, Keiichi Maibara. Calm down, calm down. There's no way something this stupid could be happening. I mean, he was genuinely listening to my story, and he even cried with me. I thought he was the one person in Hinamizawa who would understand. This was... was...
作り話か虚言の兆候があり、特に昨日の記憶が完全に混乱。虚実の区別の喪失、多重人格等の精神障害に酷似しています。でも、こんな急激な精神障害の発症は普通では考えられません。あるいは先天的、もしくは引っ越し前からそういう兆候があったのか。引っ越し前に精神科に通院例がないか調べたいところです。とにかく前原さんには穏便にお休みいただきます。
Two doctors nodded deeply.
前原さんのご両親にも連絡しておいた方が良いですね。何と言えばいいか言葉が思いつきませんが、彼の自宅の電話番号を調べてください。
My eyes, still moist, began to shed tears once more. This was too cruel. I really thought he had actually understood and had believed what I'd told him. But now, from the other side of that wall, he was bluntly treating me like a crazy person. I believed you. I believed you. I let down my guard because I thought you were the only ally I had left after that insane night. Was that a lie? All that about thanking me on Sadako's behalf, were you just pretending in order to keep me placated? Ugh. My tears fell to the floor in frustration. I was an idiot. I was an idiot. I was such an idiot for believing that bastard. I done told you were being stupid. I said don't do it, and you did it. Now I got egg on your face. Heard footsteps approaching the doctors. A man in a dress shirt with no tie came running up.
入江先生、大変です。高野さんが見つかりました。
高野さんが一体どこに？
Oh, that's right. Takano was a nurse at the clinic. I remember that.
それが山中で焼死体で発見されたらしく。
She did die? Wait. But they found the body the night of Watanagashi. We talked to her the night of Watanagashi, didn't we?
死んだ？高野さんがですか？
The men, all surprised, exchanged glances. Dead? Takano-san? Hey, wait. So does that mean that when I cursed her wishing for her death, that wish was granted?
焼死とは一体どういうことですか？それは事故ですか？
県警の発表では他殺の可能性が極めて高いと。
As I cried, I laughed quietly. Serves you right. Serves you right. If I hadn't run into that woman, my murder would have been perfect. She just had to come driving up to me and tried to coerce me like that. Regretted not having killed her on the spot, but now she was dead anyway. My curse, my wish for her demise, was fulfilled. Serves you right. Serves you right.
リサさんが死に、高野さんが死に、一体ひなみ沢には何が起こっているというんですか。まさかこれが今年のお社様のたたりだなんて言うんじゃないでしょうね。
Like hell I'll let this curse be real, Coach said. Everyone present just nodded as Coach cursed at no one in particular. Kukuku. Yes, maybe it wasn't Oyashiro-sama, but this was definitely a spell, a curse. I wished for her to die. So she did. It wasn't just a coincidence and she died because I wished for it. Then you'll die next, Coach. You betrayed me. You pretended to believe me, but deep down you thought I was a madman. You looked down at me with all that pity in your eyes.
では、とりあえず紅茶の準備を。紅茶は私が持って入ります。私以外には彼は心を許さないようですからね。
Shit. What do? What do, Keiichi Maibara? This time I heard the voice of a nurse.
入江先生。あ、いらっしゃいましたか。お電話です。
今ちょっと忙しいので、後でかけ直すと伝えてください。誰からです？
沖宮警察の大石様ですけど。
ちゃー、悪いタイミングですね。出ます。
He's not gonna rat us out, is he? Coach left to go and answer the phone. The other men headed down towards the room with a teapot to make the black tea like Coach had ordered them to do. Fortunately, Coach having to take that phone call meant there would be extra time for me to act. I had to decide what to do now. Would I let him make me drink the sedative-infused tea, or be held down and thrown into a mental hospital? Nothing would come from starting a brawl here. They had more people anyway, and they were all bigger than me. If it came to a fight, I didn't stand a chance in hell. If I couldn't win against them, then there was only one thing left to do. Run. Adrenaline suddenly rushed into my brain, and my body started to move with keen instinct, like it had on that night. My surface temperature quickly cooled, and the transmission routes between my cells enlarged. Using 360-degree visual information, I searched for an escape route. I would open the window behind me. Outside was a parking lot. There were no cars. A little beyond that was the bicycle I had taken to get here. I determined that this would be the quickest method of escape. But then where are you going to go? You're going to go back home? Because they're just going to show up at your house. I approached the window swiftly, but with little sound, to raise a little suspicion as I could. With the speed and silence of a shadow like I had on the night I chased her uncle, I unlocked the window and opened it up. A cool evening breeze wafted in. I stuck my head out and looked over the parking lot again. Nobody in sight. No need to hesitate. I quietly crawled outside and closed the window behind me. I held my breath and listened carefully. Nobody seemed to have realized I'd run. I looked around. Then I jumped on my bicycle and zoomed away. The pedals clattered under the force. Did my bike always creak like this? Did the pedals always whine every time I pushed down on them? My bike wasn't the only one crying, though. My tears fell as the wind cut through them. They rode the breeze and scattered behind me. I hate this. I'm not the crazy one. Hinamizawa is. How dare you treat me like a madman? Die. Just fucking die already. I believed you. Ooh-ah! Gone to the hospital in order to escape Rena and Mion's invitation. But the reality was that was waiting for me had been too cruel. Who was insane? Me or Hinamizawa? Or was the answer something else? I started having trouble breathing. I didn't have any clue what was happening anymore. The loud chirps of the Higurashi were irritating me. Were even the Hinamizawa Higurashi I knew so well calling into the wind? No, that wasn't quite it. They weren't calling. They were crying. The pained wailing of those lost in some kind of rhythm. In another world, no longer able to return to their own sunlight. I didn't do all that to end up in a world like that. And actually, at about this time, I might have been having fun with everyone else. Satoko would have gotten her smile back after realizing her uncle wouldn't even come home. And she might have shown it to us after our first club meeting out in a while. That was the kind of world I wished for. So, what was this? Why did I end up in such a strange, ghastly world? Someone I'd killed was living like normal, and I enjoyed myself at the festival despite not being there. I don't want it. I don't want this strange world. When did it start to go wrong? When? When? No matter how much I thought about it, I never understood. I rode swiftly and returned to my home. It began to rain during my journey back, and just like yesterday, I was now soaked. But I didn't care about something so trivial right now. The pain I felt in my heart that Coach, the one person I trusted, was acting so cruelly was far worse. Did I have no allies in Hinamizawa anymore? With the naive thought that at least I wanted my parents to side with me, I stepped up to the front door. Wait, Keiichi. It'll be dark soon. There's something you want to check, right? Do not go to that body. Have you not done enough? Yes. I wanted to dig up the man's corpse and get a look at his back. You are making me crazy. There was a tiger tattoo there. I would know beyond a doubt he was Sadako's uncle. That long night wouldn't end until I was certain. If this insane world was all reparation, all a divine punishment, then I needed to make certain whether I'd been successful enough to even deserve to pay that price. Went to the storage room again and got the shovel. It had been washed in the rain, but the paint was peeling, making it look unsightly. I never ever wanted to touch this thing again. The sensation of it in my hands was totally different from the night before. There was a ruthless coldness about it. Yeah. It would be dark soon, so I'd need a lantern too. There would be a little bit of light from the streetlights, but it would get extremely dark.
Oh.
Thought I put the lantern here, but suddenly I noticed it wasn't anywhere to be found. And it hit me like a bolt of lightning. Of course. On that night I hadn't brought the lantern back with me. You left the shovel and the lantern there? I left it at the place I buried the body. What are you doing? What are you doing? If I didn't go to get it soon, it would be very dark. And then not only would I be able to find the spot I buried the corpse, but I wouldn't even be able to find the lantern itself. If that happened, it was all over. So here's what I predict is going to happen. Irie is going to be on the phone with Oishi and be like, "Hi, I have Keiichi here. He just confessed to a murder of Sadako's uncle." And then Oishi's going to be all like, "Oh, Sadako's uncle never came home yesterday. We're filing a missing persons report." And then it's going to click. And they're going to be like tracking me, and they're going to be watching me dig up this body from the night before that I had buried myself. Because I'm a fucking idiot. In order to fit the shovel in the basket on the front of my bike, I needed to twist and disassemble it. But it looked like there was dirt in the joints. No matter how hard I pushed, it didn't want to come apart. After a strenuous effort, I realized I couldn't get it apart. So I decided to hold it in one hand and ride my bike with the other. The downpour soaking me through and a shovel in one hand, and riding one-handed. It was as if I'd returned to that night. No, return was the wrong word. More like that night had never ended. The pain of the raindrops striking me was no different from then. The thing that was different was Hinamizawa. The world and nothing else. The rain clouds were already making it dark, and now it was about time for the sun to set. I could tell it would only get rapidly darker. A straight road leading to town. In the middle of it. That should be where I buried it. Yes. It was near that streetlight. On that night, too, the water from the downpour was splashing down from the streetlight's overhang like a waterfall. The pouring rain was exactly the same as it had been that night, and thus it brought my memories into focus. I left my bike in the brush and stepped into the forest, the ground already soaked with mud. Where had I buried him? Think. The darkness, the shadows, the water, the mud. Everything was the same. Think. And then I spotted the lantern by a fallen, moss-covered tree. That's right, I left it right there. Left the lantern here, then I would have buried him over there. With the sensation of standing in the sludge, my feet remembered the spot better than my eyes did. Plunged my shovel into the ground. It's hard. It wasn't here. I just dug it up so it should have been softer. Stick my shovel down in a few spots to test what they feel like. One of them clearly felt deeper. I called where the lantern was, where the trees and things were in relation to each other, and knew that I had to be here. Under here slept that man's corpse. There would definitely be the tattoo of a tiger on his back. But if it wasn't there, then I made a horrible mistake and killed someone completely unrelated instead. I'd be more dazed at the fact that Sadako's uncle wasn't dead than I would regret having gotten someone else mixed up in this. If this insane world was punishment for the sin of committing murder, I wouldn't be able to accept it until I'd killed Sadako's uncle for good. And then without any fear, I'd attack him again. And that time I would kill him, for sure. But what if the tattoo was there? That would mean I'd killed Sadako's uncle. But that would be terribly strange. If I killed him for sure, then who is the uncle at Sadako's house this very moment? Impossible. Didn't even know anymore what I was using the word impossible to refer to. I've used the word quite a few times today. If I had to make the words impossible fit just one thing, what would it be? That much was obvious to me.
こんなおかしな世界がありえてたまるかよ
I shouted, then turned behind me. There was nobody there, of course. It hadn't been bothering me for a while, but those footsteps had followed me this entire day. Even just now, an extra set of footsteps had splashed behind me. No one was actually there. No indications of anyone even. But they were there.
あんたは誰だ俺がこっちの世界に来てからずっとついてくるんだ
That's right. Thinking back, the first time I heard those footsteps was after Takano-san and I had parted. Those footsteps were my welcome into this strange inside-out world. No one could be there. I get no response. Whoever it was, they just kept staring at me. It wasn't ominous, just unpleasant. After staring into empty space for a bit, as I bathed in the rain, my illogical anger slipped away. My tension loosened and a tired feeling reared its head. I tasted this feeling that night too. Sudden exhaustion I felt as the tension in my brain loosened. My vision quickly narrowed and I felt like everything around me had suddenly gotten darker. I couldn't give into this sensation. I would light what little explosives were left in my brain and force myself to keep going. I needed to dig that man up, before my stamina ran out. I needed to see the tattoo on his back. I caught my suddenly ragged breath and calmed down. Then, I stuck the shovel into the soft, muddy ground again. Felt exactly the same as that night. The sense of digging a hole in the beach, with water coming into it with every wave. What day was today? Had I gone back to the night of Watanagashi? Every strange thought that came to my mind tormented me. Given my exhaustion, I didn't think I could manage to hold those thoughts back. Once the hole was deep, the illumination finally faded, blanking my vision in jet black. It was probably the moment the sun had fully set, too. That night I had feared the worst and gone without using much light. My senses were so strained that I could see even in that darkness. But now I didn't have that kind of strength left. I drained everything I had last night. Now the darkness would be lethal. I decided to turn on the lantern. Hold on. Oh, God. Foot's asleep. My feet always fall asleep during my recordings and my streams. I never know what to do with my feet whenever I'm playing. They're always under me. I decided to turn on the lantern. Putting it on the first setting would make it give off a faint light. Even with how little there was, it was enough, and people wouldn't be able to see it from far away in this rain. I grabbed the chilled lantern, turned the dial with a click, set it to the weakest light setting, and turned it on. An uncanny world of silhouettes appeared before me. A complex and strange shadowy world created by the intricate entanglement of trees and branches. I had turned on only a light, and it was like that was all it took to make the world into something else. I let out a quick, tired breath and wiped the liquid, neither rain nor sweat, from my brow. And I raised the shovel into the air and slammed it into the mud. That moment, the silhouettes surrounding me ominously all moved at once. Inside my head, something packed in there. Something coarse but not hot or cold was loudly rushing about. The silhouettes were all around me, looking down at me. And one of them, a silhouette bigger than the others, stepped forward. I done told y'all. It's entrapment. It's Oishi, right? Knew it. I called it. I knew it. They were making me think I was crazy, and they guilted me into going back to the body to make sure that he was actually dead. I freaking knew it. Coarseness of my brain shot through my whole spine and left me at my waist. Strength of my body all left me through my hips and crouched down with a splash into the sea of mud I dug for myself.
Oishi.
Son of a bitch.
そうでないと大人になってからいろいろと苦労します。
wasn't only Oishi, but 5 or 6 of them in a row. Men wearing raincoats. I had no inkling that this many people had gotten so close. It was like, once I turned on the lantern, they just appeared there, sliding out of the shadows.
どうぞ私たちのことは気にしないでください。森の木立だとでも思って。
Don't mind them?
そうです。私たちのことは気にされず、どうぞ穴掘りをお続けになってく
Well,
だ
now
さ
we're
い。
done. We can't talk our way out of this one.
こんな時間にこんな土砂降りの中で、そんなにも真剣にやっているんですからね。邪魔なんかしませんよ。心ゆくまで掘っちゃってください。
No thank you, I said. I tried to get up and turn around. 2 men blocked that route. They stood on either side of me and lifted me up with amazing strength, then threw me into the sea of mud. As I soaked in the mud bath I dug for myself, I looked up at the silhouettes looking down at me. Oishi squatted, picked up my shovel, and threw it at my feet for me. It bounced loudly off the mud and hit me in the face.
ほら、続きをどうぞ。続きを。
Couldn't bear the oppressiveness of the silhouette surrounding me, and slowly I stuck the shovel into the mud again. I felt like I was digging my own grave. If I kept digging, it wouldn't matter whether there was a tattoo or not, because that man's corpse would appear eventually. It was all over. Surrounded on all sides and nowhere to go. But I just couldn't figure it out no matter how much I thought about it. Why were they here? Was it Takano-san? There's only one person who could have made the connection between me and this place. Shit, knew it. She deserved to die.
手が休んでますよ。
Bam. Oishi kicked me in the back, which took me by surprise, sending me flying into the mud. Alright, Oishi. You caught us. Take a step back, friend. We're digging the hole.
ちゃっちゃと掘っちゃってくださいよ。雨の中で待たされる方の身にもなってほしいもんです。
くそ、そんなに雨が嫌なら帰ればいいだろう。
Oishi kicked some mud into my face.
口より先に手を動かしてください。口と手を一緒に動かすのは落語家だけ。ねえ。
Men around him didn't react, not knowing quite whether they should laugh, but when Ushi glared at them, they started mumbling out pained chuckles. Just who was this guy? I knew the world had changed after that night, but going even further back, didn't it start when this guy showed up? That was when our peaceful days had been taken from us. Ever since he showed up in Hinamizawa, things have been odd. Everyone stopped smiling and the world went crazy. It's nobody's fault but your own, Keiichi. You're very suspicious of everyone. Under my feet gradually got harder and heavier. At this point, even I started to think something was odd. I hadn't buried him this deep on that night, had I? My exhaustion peaked and I sat down on the spot.
いつまで掘ればいいんだよ。
最近の若い人は体力がありませんね。おい。
At Oishi's gesture, the men all pulled out their own sinister-looking shovels. As I watched amazed, one of them grabbed my collar, dragged me out of the hole, and threw me to the ground. The rest of the men stepped into the hole I dug and started shoveling themselves. As I stared at them dumbfounded, Oishi sauntered over and squatted down to look at me directly.
前原圭一さん、あなたの趣味は雨の夜の穴掘りですかね。
I didn't respond. Oishi took one of the tin buckets they were using to bail out the muddy water, scooped up some of it, and splashed the whole thing into my face. It's a little bit much.
今日は大雨ですから、これ以上いくら濡れても全然わかりませんね。
Oishi smiled to himself, then scooped up another bucketful of muddy water.
もう一回聞きますね。あなたの趣味は、
そんな趣味のやついるもんか。
Splash. Oishi hit me with another bucketful of muddy water. Pebbles in it stung.
あの穴を掘ると、私、 花坂じいさんのここ掘れワンワンってのが昔から憧れでしてね。
It's an odd story. I'm not familiar with that one. As he spoke, he ran the bucket through the muddy water again, to splash it in my face again.
あそこにどんな宝物が埋まってるんですかね。私にちょっとだけでもおし
Should have put him in the swamp. You want to know, then dig on your own time. You fucking pig. Wasn't saying that out loud, but I wish he mercilessly drenched me in muddy water again anyway. Shit. Only you hadn't shown up, the world wouldn't have gone wrong. Ever since you showed up, things have been strange. Satoko got abused by her uncle, I ended up killing him, the world went crazy. He was how it all began. I don't think so. I don't think that's it. You started acting weird in like episode 2 or 3, Keiichi, when you were like, I'm Sadako's Nini. I'm her big brother. I'll protect her at all costs. That was weird. That was you, honey. Flash another bucket of mud in my face. My insides were seething with anger. Die. You die too. If I have some strange power to kill someone by cursing them, like with Takano-san, then you're dead. And it won't be Oyashiro-sama's curse, it'll be mine. I'll curse you and kill you.
反抗的な目つきですね。これを機に少しそのあたりをお勉強してしまいましょうか。今は平和な時代ですがね、私があなたくらいだった頃は何でも鉄拳制裁が普通でして。
おいさ。
One of the digging men in raincoats wiped some sweat off and called Oishi over. Oishi tossed the bucket away and turned around with an evil grin on his face.
はいはい、何でしょうか。
これを見てください。
Acceptance, or maybe resignation. Wanted to say to them, so you blockheads finally found it. Yeah, that's right. I'm the one who killed him. It was me all along, blockheads. You're the police, so it's your own job to figure out who he is, right? Come on, prove to me that he's really Sadako's uncle.
何ですかこりゃ。
ただ古い排水管ではないかと。あそこの用水路に繋がっているようです。
ぶっ壊しちゃいましょうか。どうせ使ってない缶でしょ。
Then I'll exchange glances, then hesitantly broached another topic.
おいさ、もうかなり手応えが硬いです。これより深くってことはありえないと思います。
掘る場所を間違えました。
いえ、初めのうちは明らかに掘り返す感触でした。ですがこのくらいを掘った頃から急に硬くなりまして、多分もともと掘った穴よりも深く掘り進んだのだと思います。
Where's the body?
じゃあつまり何ですか。ここには穴があって何もなく、ただそのまま埋め直されたと皆さんそうおっしゃるわけで。
What? What were they talking about?
こりゃ参った。
Like, you can't arrest me for digging a hole. But where's the body?
前原さん。
I mean, unless, like, it is buried somewhere else, but our lantern was here. We should grab my collar and drag me to the hole they dug. Mud inside was like an ocean, and I couldn't see any drain pipe down there. One of the men stirred it with a shovel, letting me hear it clang against something hard. There's no doubt I'd buried him right here. But I hadn't buried him this deep. I didn't dig deep enough to unearth an entire drain pipe. So, then, this man, his corpse, where was it? Proof. Proof that I'd been successful on that night was gone. 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 Then what on earth was I? Was I actually crazy after all and just possessed by the delusion that I'd killed someone? That couldn't be. It was the unmistakable truth. It couldn't have been a hallucination. And the most important evidence that it hadn't been an illusion was gone. I killed him. I buried him. I had absolute unwavering confidence in that fact. Then did I fail to kill him? After I left here, had he started breathing again, crawled out, and gone back to Sadako's house? Was that it? I'd come here to see whether he had a tattoo or not. And yet the truth I unearthed was far more than that. Yesterday, what was I? I killed him. I buried him. There was no doubt. But for some reason he lived and crawled back out. And that was impossible too. Ugh. I'm so tired of hearing the word impossible over and over. I get it. Dead people don't like to play by the rules here in Hinamizawa. Then I'll kill you as many times as I need to. I'll keep killing you until you never show your face to Sadako again. I mean, that's one way to do it, I guess. Oishi and the others were muttering to each other. Eventually, their conversation ended, and Oishi came towards me. What did he want to say? What did he want to do? Stiffened, tensing up, and then Oishi just ignored me like I wasn't even there and passed right by me. The other men, too. They ignored me and shuffled away. No body, no crime. No body, no crime. Eventually, there was no longer a sign that anyone was around, and I returned to my quiet world of silhouettes. The only one left there was me. Only the sound of the pouring rain filled up the silence. Holy shit. First of all, that was a very long chapter. We're like at almost 2 hours here. Secondly, I thought I knew what was going on. Now I have absolutely zero idea what's going on. Like, what the crap? Tips acquired, inquiry requests, and record of malice. So, either we didn't really kill someone, we got an achievement, gone. We didn't really kill Sadako's uncle, and he's still wandering around, which seems very unlikely. We had, like, very specific, vivid details of what we did to Sadako's uncle, and we can't find the bat. Or the people in Hinamizawa are covering for us, like they're covering up the lie, or we're being, like, entrapped by the police and our friends. I have no idea. I thought I knew what was going on, now I have no idea because there's no body there. Few new tips. Inquiry request. Okinomiya Police Station, Command Center Transmission Recording. June 20th, 8:08 p.m.
こちら沖宮 PS 感度良好です。
車両ナンバー紹介をお願いします。獅子骨歯の4344。
副将獅子骨
I was right.
歯の
Shishibone.
4344。少々お時間もらえますがよろしいですか？
お願いします。
Number match. Shishibone H4344. Owner, blah blah blah. Address, blah blah blah. Hinamizawa Village, Shishibone. Vehicle make and model, blah blah blah. Theft reports, none. Special mentions, nothing of note.
沖宮 PS より大石社どうぞ。先ほどのナンバーが判明しました。大石社どうぞ。大石社応答願います。あれ？電波悪いのかな。大石社応答願。
大石さんが車両紹介？誰の車だよ。
村人の車ですね。至って平凡な。
何者だよ。大石さんが聞いてくるからにはただ者じゃないんだろ。
突起事項欄は完全に空欄ですね。S 号指定もなし。減点もなしだし。
パッシングでもされて腹が立ったんじゃないの？あの人根に持つとなかなか忘れないタイプなんだよ。
Whose license plate was it? You can't just leave me like that. Record of malice. You can't just leave me hanging. Whose was it? He said it smelled. He said the food smelled. He said it smelled because I smelled. He said I smelled because I don't take baths. He said to take a bath 3 times a day because I was a smelly person. He said to stay in the bath for a long time every time. He must be possessed by something too. It is the same thing the man who died said. Why does he know what the man said before? Much is obvious. Same thing that possessed that man is now possessing him. Can't a sudden earthquake make a big hole in front of the house? If it did, he would definitely go and look into it. And I just have to push him in. I won't give in until I get that chance. I won't give in, I won't cry. I won't give in, I won't cry. Someone is apologizing again. Neither of these have been very helpful. Higurashi, work with me, not against me. who wrote the Record of Malice? When I hear the word cry, and we're talking about a man, I'm assuming that this was written by Satoko, but I don't know. It just says Record of Malice. And whose license plate did we find? Was it Takano's car? It just said it was an average car. I don't know. That was a long chapter, but there's a lot of really bizarre shit happening now. I don't know where this is gonna go from here. This is like, I'm really interested to find out where it does go, but honestly I have zero idea. So maybe y'all know. But anyway, if you like this video, feel free to give it a like and subscribe for more content like this. Like I said, I'm gonna try to have one out every week, maybe every other week. This one is like pretty much the length of 2 videos, so we might hold off on another week for this, but stay tuned and I'll have more Higurashi up when I can. I appreciate y'all watching, and I will catch you for the next one. Peace!